UFC Almeida versus Lewis just took place, and it was a bit of a stinker. Jailton Almeida, dude. Just the definition, the embodiment, the personification of a wet blanket. I mean, so boring. The heavyweight top 5 is going to absolutely smoke him. Can't wait to see that guy get knocked out. But this is gonna be my full fight card breakdown, starting with KU Fernandez versus Mark Diak, whatever. I already say his name. Super duper boring fight. Mark used to be an exciting fighter, realized he doesn't have that much talent, and then just tried to keep his job, basically. So, really boring. Next fight was a woman's fight. Complete dominations by Eduarda Mora. Missed weight by like 3.5 pounds, though, so whatever. Angela Hill getting it done over Denise Gomez. Really good job by Angela Hill. A pretty close fight. Round 1, Gomez won, but Hill squeaked out the second round and got the third round pretty clearly, so good win for Angela Hill. As for Denise Gomez, I mean, she's 23. Has a lot of time left to improve, so we'll see what she does later. Next fight, Victor Petrino versus Modestas Bukauskas. Bukauskas won the first round, I think. It was pretty close. He was kind of outstriking him. Martin, like, barely. It was pretty even. But Petrino was just landing a stiff jab all throughout round 1. And then in round 2, Bukauskas made a major mistake where he's fighting, and he faked a right, throw a left, dropping his right hand, and Petrino just hit him with a beautiful left hook as Bukauskas was coming in. And with the power of Petrino's hook and Bukauskas running into it, he got flatlined. You could see his eyes roll back in his head. And I believe it was Mark Goddard made a really good stoppage. And for the next fight, well, for Petrino, I say you give him maybe a ranked opponent. He's got 3 UFC wins. 2 of them are by submission, so maybe you give him one guy in like the top 20, top 25, and then give him a ranked. And as for Bukauskas, needs to take some time off and work on his striking fundamentals. That's made a major mistake. Now, as for this next fight, major fraud check. Renat Fekretanov got absolutely fraud checked by an old man in Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. It was a close fight. Round 1, Renat clearly won. He dropped dos Santos early in the round, landed some good shots, but dos Santos recovered and won the end of the round. But overall, Renat got that round clearly. Round 2 was very close, but I do believe Renat edged it out. But then dos Santos dominates round 3 with really good striking. Lands I think it was a teep to the liver and folds Renat. He landed so many of them, but he landed one in the 3rd round, and it made Renat crumble. And dos Santos landed really weak ground and pound, is very much like Yair Rodriguez. Really amateur, horrible ground and pound. It was still good shots, but wasn't enough to put him away, so Renat survived, and then dos Santos got a triangle, or a body triangle, and went for a rear naked choke for the rest of the round, winning the round clearly and dominantly. Was piecing him up on the feet all night long. Well, not in round 1. Well, in the round 1 he was, but he was doing really well on the feet. Pretty good head movement. And it was kind of because the reason why he wasn't getting hit later in the fight is because they're not horrible striking fundamentals. He just kept winging this like ugly overhand right that just had no technique, and he was just fighting like a brawler and not a technician like Dos Santos was. And Dos Santos was looking old. I mean, he's 36. He's been through a lot in his career. Absolute fraud checked. Absolutely fraud checked. I don't know what's next for or not. People were hyping him up. I was hyping him up. I said he was like going to be top 7 material. I think I said he, in my last video, he already was top 7 material. Absolutely take that back. Dos Santos had one of the biggest fraud checks in UFC history. Kind of disappointing. Renat's 32. Not a lot of time to get better. So we'll see. Really shocking, to say the least. Now onto the main card. Elvis Brenner getting a nasty KO over Kenyan Kruczewski. Something to note, very non-Brazilian names for those two fighters, especially Kruczewski. A little German sounding, if you ask me. But Elvis Brenner, amazing knockout. Hit him with he's going in for like an overhand right, and then he comes over with the overhand left and hit him like right above the ear, like right here. It just knocked him out like that. It was like the off button, man. It was brutal. It was awesome. Really good performance. Didn't take much damage at all. Really clean, dominant performance by Elvis Brenner. I was watching MMA Guru, and a really good matchup he suggested was Drew Dober next. Drew Dober versus Elvis Brenner. That would be so awesome. Such an epic fight. Someone's definitely getting finished. And even some people were mentioning that Elvis Brenner was kind of fighting like Drew Dober was in his Bobby Green fight. So if those two come crashing forward, it's going to be a show. Now this next fight in the middleweight division, Caio Borralho versus Abus Magomedov. Really frustrating to watch. This, first of all, shows how good Sean Strickland is. Caio Borralho, I think he has a lot of potential, right? He's young guy. Got the future ahead of him, but he's got a lot to work on. His finishing instinct, his ability to see when he has someone in trouble, and when he can capitalize, he needs to work on that. And I think he's going to be able to rewatch this fight with Magomedov and really learn a lot from it and dissect it, because I really believe he can be a decent fighter in the middleweight division. I think he can go. He's definitely going to get ranked, right? He's on a 5-fight winning streak. They'll probably put him in the top 15. And he called out Dricus, which is really stupid. Dricus is the #1 contender, and you're unranked. You might get placed at number 15 on Tuesday, but you're not going to get the Dricus fight, dude. So, but definitely top 15 material. And as for Abus, had a decent first round. I think he won that, but he pretty clearly won the first round, I think, but one of the judges gave it 30-27, which is pretty stupid. But Borralho kind of folded him in the third round, but just couldn't get the finish. He was piecing him up on the feet, and then he just got the back position and wasted the rest of the round. I don't understand why fighters do that. When you have a guy hurt because you were outstriking him on the feet, stand him back up. If you don't have, I mean, I know Guy was good on the ground, but he just wasn't having any success on it. If you have a guy that hurt, let him get back up and finish him spectacularly in front of your home crowd in Sao Paulo. And you can become a superstar. But it was kind of a boring decision. It was an okay fight, but I don't know. Brow's on a 5-fight win streak though. Probably gonna get placed in number 15 on Tuesday. And for Magomedov, yeah. I mean, let's see, how old is he? 33. I mean, definitely not ranked material. He can probably face a couple of bums because middleweight is so trash. Get some victories, scrape by, but career's pretty dead. And then this next heavyweight fight, the beached whale contest, as my mother said as she was watching the fight. This is embarrassing. It's just cut both of these guys. It's embarrassing to watch these guys fight. They're so fat, so unathletic, such untalented fighters. I mean, just picture this fight versus what Sergey Pavlovich and Tom Aspinall are gonna be. Picture that fight versus this fight. It's just completely different levels. I mean, it's like comparing a car from like the Model T in like the 1890s or whenever that was invented versus a freaking Ford F-150. It's just completely different animals. I mean, Alex Pereira, I think could smoke both of these guys at the same time. It's just disgusting to watch. Rodrigo Nascimento Fierro got it done by decision. I think it was 29-28. He won the first 2 rounds. First round was kind of a slobber knocker. They were landing some good shots on each other. Rodrigo definitely won that round. Second round was closer. Rodrigo won that round again. Pretty close though. Dontel Mays was kind of picking up the pace. And in round 3, Dontel won clearly. So just horrible. Rodrigo could have finished him multiple times throughout this fight. Had him hurt really bad, or had him rocked pretty decent, but just like doesn't have the gas tank to put a combination together more than like 3 punches. So, and Dontel Mays, the kicks that he was throwing, man, it's just embarrassing. Like, how are you not worried about getting laughed at when you're throwing these like question mark kicks and axe kicks so horribly? I mean, it's like Ben Askren spinning back fists. It's just like, what am I watching? How are you guys in the UFC, the most prestigious fighting organization in the world? How has this happened? Just awful. Hope they both get cut. All right, now on to an amazing performance by Nicholas Dalby in the co-main event. Dominated Gabriel BONFIM. Dominated. He was getting hit with some good shots, but nothing. He was never in any real trouble. I mean, BONFIM had him on the ground in the later half of the first round with some submission threats, but Dalby never panicked, stayed calm, got out of the position, stood back up, made it to the second round, and just bulldozed BONFIM. BONFIM couldn't handle Dalby's pressure. Dalby kind of fought like Drew Dober. And he just was like, dude, I'm going to come forward. I believe in my cardio. I believe in my chin. Let's just see what happens. And then Dalby got it done. He landed like 6 or 7 knees in the clinch in the second round. And the last one he landed just folded BONFIM badly. This total shocker. Dalby totally outperformed everyone's expectation. He was a humongous underdog. And to finish Gabriel BONFIM, a highly touted prospect in the welterweight division, and that was Dalby's first finish in the UFC. And he does it against BONFIM, who is a monster. I mean, he submitted Trevin Giles in less than a minute. And Dalby walked through him, pretty much. I mean, BONFIM put up a good fight in round 1, but after round 1, BONFIM really had nothing left. Which I guess we should have known, because BONFIM has only really gone in, or only really had round 1 fights, right? Last fight against Trevin Giles, 1 minute 13 seconds. Fight before that, Munir Lazez, 49 seconds. And Dalby's biggest strength is his cardio. He's like Merab. Good cardio, good chin, good game plan. Coming forward. And that can win you a fight. That can get you into the UFC and get you to be a championship level fighter like Merab, but Merab's a little cuck, and for his boy Aljo, so. But it works for Dalby, even if you're soy, even if you're a soy Dane like Dalby. If you have the right skills, you can get it done. Really, really good performance. Now on to the main event. Super depressing to watch. It was kind of fun though, watching Almeida just like throw Lewis to the ground. Just watching, there's just something about fat people falling down. It's just kind of amusing. And we all want Derek Lewis to win. Alright, he's so fun to watch win, and it was fun to see Lewis try to get back up a few times and stuff a couple takedowns and try to reverse the position, which he did a couple of times, but just didn't really land anything. Almost landed an uppercut like 2 times, which would have been so satisfying. But couldn't get it done. Almeida wet blanketed him like a true, I don't even know. It's a true wet blanket. I mean, just an absolute wet blanket. So cringy to watch. You're just cringing. Mark Goddard should have absolutely stood up the fight multiple times. Almeida, for so long, he wasn't even landing that good of ground strikes. He was just laying on top of Lewis. And Goddard was just like, work. It's like, you can't just tell them to work. If they need to work, stand them up. It's so annoying. The Brazil crowd was cheering it in the end. They were cheering Almeida. Yet what happened when Glover was pouring out his heart with blood, sweat, and tears in his fight against Jamal Hill? They all left. You're gonna leave Glover Teixeira's retirement fight in an absolute war against Jamal Hill, but you're gonna stay for Almeida to cheer him? I don't get Brazil, man. I love Brazilian fighters like Charles Oliveira, Alex Pereira. Those are my 2 favorite active fighters in the UFC right now, but what is up with Brazil, man? The crowd in Brazil is the worst crowd, I think. I think it's the worst crowd, period. I mean, think of like the Australian, the Paris, the London crowd versus the Sao Paulo crowd this Saturday. Night and day difference. As for the future of Almeida, I don't know, Tybura? Just give him Tybura or something like that. If you look at the heavyweight rankings right now, what is it? Almeida's 9, he just beat number 10. Maybe give him, Does he even deserve a guy ranked higher than him? I mean, such a bad performance. He could have finished Derek Lewis so many times. He had like over 20 minutes of ground control, and he couldn't submit Derek Lewis. After all the ground and pound, it's so frustrating to watch. I think he should just fight like Tybura next, or yeah, just give him Tybura. I don't want to see Tai Tuivasa fight him. I guess you could give him Sergey Spivak. That might be the fight to make. He called out Cyril Gane, but you're not getting Gane. You're not going to get the #1 ranked guy that's as big of a star as Gane when he had that horrible of a performance. Absolute snooze fest. So yeah, screw him. As for Derek Lewis, I don't know, maybe if they don't give Tybura to Almeida, maybe Derek Lewis can face Tybura in a rematch. Rosenstruck, or yeah, Tybura or Rosenstruck, I say, is the next fight for Derek Lewis. That's it for my UFC Fight Night Almeida versus Lewis breakdown. Some pretty cool finishes, but overall, not that great of a card. But next week, though, real life Mortal Kombat, Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira. Let's go. See you then.